Artificial intelligence. I've been accused of being artificially intelligent, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about AI. It's impacting your life. It's impacting your business, everything. How's it impacting agriculture, and what will we be doing differently in the future because of AI? That's the subject in this episode of The Granary. You ready for a conversation with some real farmers about real issues? And the best part, you're invited. So pour yourself a drink, grab a snack, most importantly, pull up a chair. Welcome to The Granary. Hey guys. Hey there, you heard the topic, artificial intelligence. We're going to cover it. I've got Clint Frese with Calibrated Agronomy. I know that because it says so on his shirt. He's joined by Kelly Garrett with XtremeAg and our very special guest, Lisa Homer. Lisa Homer is with UPL, sponsor of this episode. Thank you very much for being here. And more importantly, thank you for your sponsorship. UPL, delivering solutions that make a difference. Artificial intelligence. You love this topic because you're out there in corporate and you're doing some stuff and you tell people, I'm using AI all the time. And they say,
well, they say, AI, what? Or how are you using artificial insemination? And so you have to take it back a step. But no, I think AI is going to be interesting. When you talk about it in terms of agriculture, they usually look at it as precision farming, what you're doing in the field. But there's a lot of other stuff that AI can do. And I think it's going to be interesting to find out how it actually impacts ag and the decisions that we make and what we do. But from a corporate standpoint, it's a blessing and a curse.
I think it's got a lot of promise. It's got a lot of apprehension. There's a lot of people that are concerned right now. I just an article on LinkedIn yesterday, how AI is going to replace you. That's kind of a, shall I say, intimidating, to say the least. What are you doing right now?
I'm using it to figure costs. I've been using it some in the carbon market. You're talking about Corsia credits coming online and things like that for airlines to fly into Europe. I use it for research to understand that. The other day I was using, I use Grok off of X mostly. The other day I was asking about some carbon markets going into, Corsia credits into Europe, as I said, maybe trying to sell U.S. agricultural credits overseas into Europe and Asia, things like that. And it even offered up a way to let me, and previous to that, I'd had a conversation with Grok about how much is it costing me to run my 8RX and my John Deere toolbar and the VRT to put the anhydrous on. And I was fascinated by this. Grok came back and said, can I show you how, if you variable rate your fertility, could I show you how you could build a carbon market off of that and a sequestration that could come from that? I had never, that blew me away. I'd had a John Deere question or a conversation with it about calculating costs. Then I'm, asking about this, and it combined the two things and put it together. And that'll
raise your eyebrows just a little bit.
It blew me away. But so then I have started to look at my conversation history with Grok, and it remembers all of that, and it will refer back to that and things like that. And it very much is AI. It learns. Mm-hmm. And I was fascinated by that. First time it's ever happened.
Well, that's what's interesting, because there's going to be someone, and we love our viewers and our listeners. There's probably somebody that's a skeptic. As soon as we open, I don't care about it. It ain't going to change anything. But artificial intelligence, that's fine for somebody, these corporate jobs, but I'm out here on the farm. You just gave the example. That's the example of a specific model, of a specific brand, of a tractor on your farming operation, and then three more things.
It does, I have learned, though, I've started to use it more and more just because, the pace at which I try to go, I want the answer now. And so I'll ask that question. That's the fastest place for me to get the answer. But you have to be smart enough to know if it's correct or not. I put in, what's it cost to run a 9RX when we're spraying plant food? And it said 40 gallons an hour is what the fuel consumption is going to be. It's not. The fuel consumption is about 13 for us. So it was off there. And you need to know those things before. You can't just run with the answer all the time. You need to go through it.
That's the concern. You said, but then is it going to improve, or do we end up like that movie Idiocracy, where we're putting Gatorade on our crops because it has electrolytes in it?
Yeah, I think there is that risk, and I think you got luckily we got people like Elon Musk that challenge, because a lot of companies aren't trying to make AI where it stays to the truth and always focuses on the truth. And I think all consumers of AI are the product of AI. Well, you are the product, and so it gets better. Just as it knew he was already talking about carbon, and it put the two and two together with his tractor and brought it all into one.
There is the threat and the risk. that we get artificial intelligence makes us realistically stupid. And then like, should I feed my baby mercury? Of course you should feed your baby mercury. I mean, because that's the risk. That's the peril that everyone can say, oh, you're a conspiracy wacko. I don't know. If you didn't know that thing.
If you didn't know that the tractor doesn't burn 40 gallons an hour, you would take that and run with it. You have to be smart enough to use the tool, which is AI.
And there's not an AI tool out there that doesn't have the footnote on it somewhere that says, results could, be inaccurate. Always verify accuracy. Always look. And there's a term for what you're talking about. It's called work slop, right? It's like people who are being able to produce a massive amount of stuff that looks like a lot of productivity and a lot of work went into it, but it's just volume.
Yeah.
And I read an article the other day that said it is costing an average of $186 per person per month for somebody to go through and correct all of that. So it's going to cost you to use AI because people are spending so much time making corrections if it's not used correctly and if you aren't checking your own work.
Yeah, of course, then you're using AI to check AI in some cases. I mean, then it's where is it? Ultimately, we're not there yet. Do you use it?
Yeah, quite often. I know you're going to find this hard to believe because I speak and write so well, but I dump a lot of my emails, or if I got a formal letter I need to get back to a company, I'll use it to help proofread and kind of put a little more professional touch to it. And it just sped up that workflow.
It's a virtual assistant.
Yeah. It's a little judgy, though. It's always asking me, would you like me to help you with this email? It's like, no, I meant to be sarcastic. Please step aside.
Does AI not do sarcasm?
Apparently, it thinks I need to be more professional.
Do you know, that's where I'm starting to get
Nobody asked you, co-pilot.
I'm already worried, Lisa, that we're going to end up having this thing where it replaces me. But now it not only replaces me, it like corrects me. I don't know if my psyche can handle this.
So, I mean, it's the balance of things, right? It's making sure that you can tell it. I want more personality. I want a more humorous approach. I want the more technical approach, right? Or you can say, I don't like that answer. Tell me, some other stuff. So it's as good as the prompts. I did a training class one time and they said, if you have the right prompts, you should protect those like a programmer protects his code, because that's really what it is. You're coding. And putting stuff into this system.
So you used an example that is ag specific, and since the bulk of the people that keep up with our XtremeAg Granary show are in the industry, they say, okay, I don't need it to compile emails. I only send 2 emails a day. I don't need it to proofread something that I'm writing for a business proposal. Where do you use it? Use it on agronomic? I mean, where do you use it in agriculture?
Well, back to your prompts thing, I think I had a farmer I've been working with, and we was going over soil test parameters. So soil test below X on phos and a base saturin below this, K below this value, and he was trying to decide where he could cut. Well, he took his entire sample database, dumped it in there, gave it the parameters, and it told him exactly pinpoint which fields have that problem, or maybe he needs to focus on fertility more. And so he had 3 fields and a few little isolated areas, and then we're going to come in and actually then spread chicken litter on those really poor performing areas, try to boost production. So he did that all within, he was in the field, got rained out, and at 1 o'clock we was having the conversation. At 4 o'clock he sent me the full report on 10,000 acres. And so to me, that is an efficiency driver, that a real world example of how
yeah, well, you did what would have only previously by a few years ago taken 5 times days
to analyze all the acres field by field.
And then it again, it's not right all the time, but it takes the human error out. I use it to, the plant food that we spray. We're going to go spray 50,000 acres of plant food. The loads are of varying lengths and things like that. So I dumped in there what the average loads are, things like that. When it spit back out.
Average loads quantity?
Average loads, sometimes we're hauling 5 miles, sometimes we're hauling 25 miles. I put in there, what's the average length of the road? How many miles did my trucking fleet drive to to spray the plant food. It came back 154,000. And Vern told me, he said, well, Dad, it's not right all the time about everything. You should double check it once in a while. So I went through, I did the math by hand, I double checked it, and I came up with 77,000 miles. I'm like, it's wrong. It doubled it up. Then Vern looked at my work and he said, Dad, you just figured the loaded miles. You didn't figure the trip back.
So it was exactly right.
It was exactly right. And I was wrong because I didn't think about the unloaded miles. So this days of analyzation that you're talking about, what about the human error that's in it? That most people are probably smarter than me. But look at the simple math error I made right there that it did not make.
Some might type into AI, is analyzation a word? And they'd say, no, analysis is what you're looking for, but that's all right. Answer me this. You're in corporate, and obviously there's a big push about how you're going to make it using AI to improve your business or to improve his business so that he's better of a customer. Where's it going to the company that sells to him and him?
A lot of it is around targeting, right? Looking for patterns in behavior. So when we get data about where crops are grown or about different, growers, information that they have turned in, it can help do predictive modeling. So if it's like, okay, if you've bought this product and this product, you would be really interested in this. So it helps to target the communications better and make sure that you're only seeing, ads about things that would be of interest.
So that's been going on before, really. In other words, if you and I say the word, we even get listened to. If you and I, if we said the word, I need to buy a rototiller 17 times, I'd get a Facebook ad that was trying to sell me a rototiller.
You don't even have to say it 17 times if you think it.
So we were doing that before AI, though, Lisa.
You were, but now we're doing it at a much different level, right?
It increases the targeting.
It increases it, and there is predictive, and then there is prescriptive, right? So it's not only saying, here's what I think he can do, but it's here's what you can do about it now. Here's when you could target him. Here's when you can send the message. This is when people are in email the most often. There is a company that I work with, the email, depending on when it's opened, it says good morning or good afternoon or good evening, depending on when the email is opened. So it's that ability to customize and make somebody feel like you are talking just to me. As a marketer, I love it. As a consumer, it creeps me out sometimes. I'm not going to lie.
You're a little watched. You're feeling a little surveilled.
Yeah.
Clint's example and Lisa's example both show how it speeds us up. We can do a better job because of the analysis and things like that. But it does eliminate jobs because you said we were doing this before AI. We were, but a human was doing it. Now the machine is doing it, and the machine is doing it better and faster.
You scared?
Am I scared of AI?
Yeah.
No, I think my parents are, but I'm not. I mean, I think there's just all this, you hear things and then you run with it, right? But I think it's no different than like when the computer first came out. They used to have, full buildings full of people doing hand calculations.
Yeah.
And then it eliminated all them jobs. Well, people went elsewhere. And I think it's just going to be that again. I think it's going to be a change.
Yeah. So there's two levels of are you scared? First, you're talking about replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah. The steam shovel replaced John Henry. That's an old fable. Kids your age didn't do fables. But anyway, John Henry got replaced by the steam shovel. And all of a sudden, no, the ditch digger doesn't have what's the guy with a pickaxe and a shovel going to go? Well, we've been hearing this since the Industrial Revolution. And there's still plenty of things to do.
Yes.
Is it different this time? Is it different than the steam shovel?
Robotic, AI coupled with robotics will eliminate a lot of
manual labor.
Yeah. There'll still be specialized labor, I think. But I think a lot of the repeatability labor will go by.
Repetitive task, like you say again, just like a backhoe is better, a mini excavator is better at digging a tile line from here to the road than a guy with a spade. Yeah. All right, I'll give you the example though. My friend Todd that I do my business of ag group with, he said, "Okay, I'm out there. I am a consultant. I do use this technology." But he says, "You know what the problem is? I'm in the swine industry. You can give me all the ways that AI is going to give me a better ration." Make it more efficient about trips, calculating the miles that I go from one hog facility to another. She says, you know what I need? Some of that stuff I don't even need. I need a way to get that 600-pound dead sow out of a crate in this 300-foot long building and get it the hell out of here. AI that for me.
Yeah.
I still got to bring 4 laborers in and drag this thing around. That's the tough part. That's the limitation. There's a lot of things that we do that are not necessarily repetitive.
Yeah.
That's going to be the harder ones to replace technologically.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. I think anything with moving material, moving things around is still going to be very dependent on humans.
When you ask Clint if he's afraid, the only thing that I worry about, and I don't know how far we are from it, but do you remember the movie WALL-E? Do you remember that movie where the humans all floated around on these buggies, and the machines were trying to clean up the world because we had trashed the world and things like that? I think about that movie, and I think about us going down because we do less and less manual labor, and the machines take over. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist or be, a fearmonger or anything like that. But I wonder if are we going in that direction? But I still use AI all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder about in my hills, with the shape and in my fields, can AI tell me how to plant the field more efficiently to save time? Because the hours on the tractor, like we've talked about.
Or more importantly, can it just do it?
Well, then, so next year, can it tell me how to do it more efficiently with less trips? And in a few years, will it just be autonomous and it will do it automatically anyway? I believe that we're not far from that.
And so all the things we've talked about here, though, is how you can use AI with existing content and with information. It's analyzing and things like that. When you said, does anything scare me? The part that gets to me is how real some of the things that are created are and what that does to truth of what's real and what's not. And, and how can you tell? I thought I was pretty good at it, but I was like, oh, I saw this video on YouTube the other day. And the guys are like, oh, I saw that too. That was AI generated. And, and I think that the creativity of it, and I don't mean to take away the question asking from you, but does it scare you when you're looking at pictures, images, stuff?
That because things will become deceitful, dishonest, things like that from those videos. One of my South African guys made a video of me telling him that he could go into Sabrina and get a big bonus. Yeah, as a joke,
yeah.
But
right.
and you can tell it's not my voice and things like that. If you knew me,
right.
If you don't know me, it appears that I'm standing there saying, go collect this check.
I think that's the part of the fear thing. The replacement part, again, the John Henry, I worked in a factory where those poor people were unskilled and generally uneducated, and, they're putting in a new robotic thing over here on the ceiling tile line, and that's going to take away 6 jobs. I felt for them, and I understand that, but that was in 1989. We've been dealing with this for, 40, 50, since, again, the Industrial Revolution. I think the bigger concern is the deceitful, using it to defraud people. There's some bad people have a really good tool right now. They had a knife, then they had a gun, then they had telephone scams. Now they got a much better tool to do wrong.
An AI generated image of the president that goes to a third world country that says something that's cast on the airways. Anything is possible.
Yeah.
That's the part to be afraid of.
That's the part to be afraid of. And being surveilled. Yeah. If you were like a wacko, maybe you just sit by your cake box and stoke the wood stove and have a lot of guns. If you were a wacky person like that, I wouldn't know anyone like that.
This is part of the no judgment.
Part of the no
judgment.
That's
what we talked about before. Yeah.
If you're a wacko, no judgment.
Maybe it's me that I'm talking about, Lisa. Where do you think where do you think the threat on that stuff goes? There's going to be farmers have been saying forever, man, all you're doing, you collect all my data so you know everything about me so you can sell me stuff. I'm nothing but a tool for you to sell your wares. Been hearing that since the whole thing on your tractor that tracks all your miles and then they want your data.
Yeah, but I think it comes back to the whole, as long as it's handled properly and it searches for truth, it should be able to search for truth across all things. And so whether that's products or cramming things down, the sales tactic, cramming down people's throats, I think that it should decipher some of those things. And
that's why Elon created his own.
That's why he wanted to.
Let's hope he sticks to that.
Yeah.
Well, there's going to be other creators. There are other creators of it and all that. So.
You talk about being surveilled. This was a year or two ago. Our friends Mike and Jenny. Jenny's in the house with the kids. The kids said, we want to go to Dairy Sweet and have an ice cream. Okay. Her phone is on the counter. They go get in the car. The phone connects to the car. Apple CarPlay comes up with directions to the Dairy Sweet. She didn't put it in. Mm-hmm. The phone is listening.
Yeah. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with all of that. I'm not sure I can stop it. I'm quite certain I cannot stop it, but I'm not sure that I'm comfortable with it.
In that instance, it's just trying to make your life simpler, as if, the dairy suite's a mile away for them. Yeah. But in that instance, it's just trying to help you. But you're talking about surveilled, and Amber makes sure she logs out of everything. I don't. Amber logs out of everything all the time because she doesn't want people listening. I'm like, well, I'm not going to say anything I'm worried about. But maybe we should be.
All right. So we're talking about these things that are kind of incremental moves. You used the word predictive and prescriptive. I'll go evolutionary, not revolutionary. None of this stuff, okay? A lot of AI is just enhanced search or a new reference book, okay? You could have found that thing about using my 8XR and miles to the fields and that. You could have done that without it. Those are incremental moves. They're not big. What's it going to do? What is this actually going to do? 5 years from now, you're sitting here and we're drinking a beer and going, God, Clint, remember when we didn't realize? Where's it going? Big picture. Get science fiction on me.
It's $1 million question. I've always questioned that you can't remove an agronomist or a farmer out of the field, that it takes the boots on the ground because there's infinite variables in agronomy.
Yeah, see it, you got to touch it.
You got to see it, touch it, look at it. But with remote sensing and AI, putting all the infinite variables together and for real-time analyzation, I don't know what that looks like for a digital agronomist per se. I think its ability to put all of the big picture things together could be.
So we put agronomists out of business?
I don't think not anytime soon.
That's the new John Henry.
But it could be.
Where's it go, Lisa?
I think that the analysis of new traits, of new products that are coming into the market. I mean, it takes 12, 15 years to take something, from a molecule to figure out if it's going to work. I think if you can find ways for AI to go in and do some prescriptive or predictive modeling with those AIs to weed out the ones out of every 100,000 AIs, you have maybe one.
Active ingredients you're talking about now.
Active ingredient again.
Okay.
Sorry.
We're talking about AIs within an AI. Yes.
Right.
Active ingredients, artificial intelligence. Your point is, if there's 100,000 active ingredients
or molecules,
we go through years,
right?
And companies and people in their white coats and labs and microscopes and field trials and all this stuff, and shortening time and distance between an idea and a molecule and an actual usable product. You think instead of it shortens that time and distance?
I think it should.
Probably accurate.
Yes.
And then products get better. And then presumably get less expensive because the company can't say, oh, we got 20 years of R&D in this. Yeah, you got 18 days or whatever, a week and a half. I mean, that's what you're talking about.
Right.
Or at least one growing season.
Right. If you can take some of that expense and that timing out of it, then you can bring products to market. Because think about it, we're thinking now about products that are going to solve a problem that's happening now. In 12 years, when that product is there could be a seed trait that takes care of it. It could be eradicated. It could not be an issue.
We might be remedying a problem that doesn't even exist by the time the product comes out.
Correct.
So shortening of time and distance on products, I see absolutely. Where do you see it going?
So, so like you talked about replacing agronomists, I'd never really thought of this before. This is interesting though. Why can't I drop in my last 3 years soil test? Why can't I drop in my last 3 years yield data? Why can't I talk about what the Board of Trade is doing for return on investment, your input costs, and not just the soil test and the yield data, but also the cost structure, and ask, what fertility do I need to put on? How do I need to VRT? How do I need to variable rate my seed? What should I plant? And if you had a forward-thinking progressive farmer, why do I need an agronomist? Why do I need to? It's not there today, but if you had a young farmer that was progressive enough, like maybe at some point it does take the agronomist and the farmer out of the field, because all of the IP that we talk about that we have. When does AI have it all?
So you know what I just heard right there? Mike Evans, his agronomist, is going to be living in my spare room in another couple of years.
But I think that's closer than you think, right?
Yeah.
Because they have tools out there now that can detect the spores that are floating around, and it attracts them. It takes a picture of it. It'll tell you what you've got, and you know what diseases are coming and what the threshold is. It will measure whether or not it's hit the economic threshold. We have tools that'll do that for insects as well. You place all of those out in the field, and I am not diminishing what an agronomist brings to the table in any way, shape, or form.
No, I'm not trying to either. But it knows it.
Right.
Okay, like you talked about this. This blows me with the sensors. Evans believes that the rust problem we had came on the snowstorm that we had in March when all the ground, not all the ground, but there was a lot of ground in the Midwest that turned red because it blew up out of Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll tell you then, I didn't hear many other people say this, shows you the intelligence of Evans. This rust problem in the Midwest this year that decimated some corn crops.
Yes.
40, 50, 60 bushel. It didn't start from the top down, it started from the bottom up. So it did not come in on the wind. It blew in on that blizzard with that red soil that came. So that was in the soil. And you talk about the sensors. What if the sensor told us, hey, the rust inoculum's here. You need to be prepared for this.
Mm-hmm.
Because we didn't know. I said, Evans, we should have sprayed fungicide on the corn stalks, but we didn't know. We didn't know it came.
More predictive in modeling.
Yes, more predictive.
Predictive modeling. And, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, humans have created now synthetic life, synthetic biology. And so that can be used for a lot of good things. I think that AI is very much going to be in power of you could isolate a certain grasshopper species under a certain, crop that it will go and attack that synthetic biological life. And that'll all be an AI interaction. But the negatives of that technology can go, you're almost getting to play with God per se, of making life itself. And, there was talking about the negatives of that in a microbiology journal of being able to actually, that biology could secrete a compound that actually eats metal, and so a government could have that to, weaponize against things. So the power of AI, I think, is we probably don't fathom what it can all do, long term.
We absolutely do not fathom.
So most of the stuff we're talking about is using it, for information and hastening, shortening distance and time, and that's all good. What about the idea that the human mind can be, you use the word predictive, it can only go on what it knows, right? So there is that limitation. Or does it overcome it? Is that an easily overcome limitation?
Well, I don't think it's easily overcome. I mean, what's the quote by Henry Ford? If I'd asked people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse, right? So nobody thought that they needed DVDs. I was fine with a VHS until somebody showed me something better. So I think you have to start with the problem.
Uh-huh.
And I think if we look at AI as a tool to go, what can AI do? I think what we have to do is identify issues and problems and then say, how can AI help solve this problem, right? Because looking at it the other way around, you're going to end up with, fixing something or creating something that doesn't really matter. So what are the issues that need to be solved? That's where, something like speeding up the time to market with stuff, beneficials, right? How can we make products that will, as you said, attack the pests we want it to, but not impact beneficials? Okay, there's something that you start with the problem, and then what can AI do? How can it help you with those experiments, those trials, and those things that you need to do to get it there?
So it shortens time, and it makes it easier on us. And then just like the computer, just like the phone, right now, you get more done in a day than you did 10 years ago because of all these tools.
Yeah.
So it increases our productivity.
Yep. Everything gets the cell phone.
Okay. Here's the thing. We really don't need any more corn and soybeans and wheat. The world has a lot of it. If we use this tool to make it so it improves our productivity. Instead of going up a few percent a year, which is what we do right now, right? The corn crop's going to be 7 bushels more than it was last year. What if all of a sudden these tools make it so we're increasing our productivity by even more? We've already got more manufacturing. We have storage units full of crap that we made. If it makes it so we're making more stuff, you can start to argue like, this is cool, but do we even need much of this stuff?
I think you're looking at productivity from the wrong standpoint. It isn't necessarily about making more yield. It's about doing it with less and less people. That's the productivity that I see.
Or inputs or expense, to Lisa's point.
Yes. That's the productivity. It isn't always about quantity of what we're producing. It's quality of what we're producing and quality of what we're producing relative to how many people we can do it with. There's a help wanted sign in every business at home. There's a help wanted sign everywhere. And this will help us shore up those weaknesses and shortfalls.
Can a person in the office building where she lives farm those acres in Iowa without even going there 10 years from now? Because I've got AI tools that do all the sensing. I've got AI that does all the recommendations. I've got AI powered machinery. Can I farm remotely 10 years from now with nothing more than screens in front of me?
I still think you're going to have a shepherd, or, they talk about that, somebody that manages the equipment, but I do think it eliminates people. And is it probably going to fail at first when models are out there to do that? I think absolutely, but it's only going to work one way, and that's get better.
Yeah.
So then what are we all going to do?
I mean, what happened when they didn't need milkmen anymore? Right? I mean, there's a lot of jobs that used to happen that, that technology came in and took the place. And I think that you evolve and you adapt. So, I mean, you talk about we're always going to need humans to move things from here to here or to do that. So I think you adapt. You find the places where now we need to be, right? You didn't need computer programmers. You didn't need those types of things. I mean, I don't think AI is ever going to fix my plumbing.
That's the tough one, is the trades. And you say, well, how does that impact agriculture? Well, look at the infrastructure you have. And say, my dairyman has milking 3,300 cows between, 3 facilities and 40 buildings. AI can't go out there and make sure that the manure pump is running. AI can't do a lot of those things.
It can tell you if it's not.
It can tell you if it's not.
But it can't fix it.
Can't do the repair.
Can't fix it.
How long before it can send a robot to fix it?
Correct.
Okay, so we're using this tool, and we all think that it's coming. We're not going to stop it. We're not necessarily scared of it. We kind of are a little bit. But there's one thing that right now we don't have: trust. When I get in my Ford F-150 and drive across country, I have a AAA membership and insurance. But 100 years ago, I would have had a truck full of tools, assuming that somewhere in Oklahoma I break down, because I don't trust the technology of the day to get me from here to across country. I do now, because it has proven itself. We're not there yet with any of this. He checked the numbers on the semi on the miles driven because you didn't quite trust it. When do we bridge that?
So I now think that, the math, you ask it a math problem, a very complex math problem with, multiple moving pieces, things like that. I trust it. I think it's there. But if you ask it, build my fertility plan, it's going to take a little time. It would be interesting to ask it to build a fertility plan for a field and then look at what Clint and Cook and Evans would come up with and see how it compares.
And almost do a comparative over 3 seasons.
Yes.
And
right.
or even take its recommendation and trial it over here.
I'm not ready. I will tell you, I'm not ready to do that yet. So, and that's how you would define that as trust. It should be interesting to look at it, but I would tell you right now that I would not blanket statement say I'd go with it.
I think it's trust, but input is another piece of the problem, right? Garbage in, garbage out. It is after it's learning. And so what you tell it and what information you put into it. So I think as the information that goes in gets better and more solid and it learns and the more data points it has, I think that's going to help build trust, right? So, and the data points that you're putting in are being combined with everybody else in your area that is inputting that data. So I think the trust will build as the amount of data that's feeding the information that it's pulling from is there, but you've got to make sure you're asking it the right questions and inputting the right data to get the answers out that you want.
I agree with that, but here's the deal. After trust, then becomes reliant, and after reliant becomes dependent. And then once you're dependent, you're vulnerable.
100%. So I went to the grocery store the other day and I have a key fob for my car. Yeah. I don't have a key. And I locked the door, went in and came back out, and the battery had died in that amount of time. I could not get in my car. Mm-hmm. I couldn't manually open with a key. I couldn't do anything. I had to walk home from the grocery store. I'm acting like it was 1,000 miles. It was like a half a mile, but still, right? I had to walk home carrying a rotisserie chicken. I felt like I was going to get attacked by a pack of wolves.
Yeah, no, that's the problem.
I was reliant and I was stuck. I could not open it. And so you have a very valid point. But you're never going to get rid of the bag of wrenches.
Yeah. So that's a tough part, is that, and also even if you had gotten in there without the thing, it may not have started because of all that stuff. So then that's the tough part. And that's where there's the surveillance that frightens you a little bit, or all that, but then there's the dependence, or worse yet, when you are completely helpless without it, right?
The real question here, or maybe the difference is, like with your bag of wrenches and things like that, you can still go work with your hands. And the way that technology has come, the faster horse and things like that, all of that has replaced, that technology has replaced what we do. from a hand standpoint. Now the AI is potentially replacing what we think. And the scary part is there's a difference between what we do and what we think. And becoming dependent and not being able to think for yourself is truly the definition of the scary part.
How soon do we get there, Clint?
I don't know. I think we're, like, for me, I trust but verify. Like, I think it goes back to the description. If I am using it to research something in depth with microbiology or plant physiology, I'll make it reference. Okay, now reference where you got this, and did it come from an agronomic journal? But in the future, I don't know how we'll verify it and to make sure that it is truthful. It'll be an interesting turn of events for sure.
All right. Well, so when we talk about replacement of humans, there's certain tasks that are pretty obviously going to get farmed out to AI pretty promptly. Paralegal is the one I keep reading about, like those sort of middle, somewhere between administrative and some skill, right? Probably certain levels of attorneys. You can just have an AI contract. I don't know, something like that.
Certain levels of medicine.
Certain levels of medicine, which probably should be. It's very expensive healthcare. Where's agriculture fit in on the replacement hierarchy?
I think what AI has not been able to do yet is bring in the emotional quotient of something, right? Yeah. So, and if I asked you how much does emotion, impact what you do on the farm, would you say none, or would you?
I would say more than it should.
Correct.
More than it
right?
should.
Or think about, like a jury, the emotion in those things. So I think that's the part that AI is never going to be able to replicate. I know there are things where it can come up and it can be feeling and it can be your friend and et cetera, but that human emotion is in decision making is one of the things that I think is going to slow it down. And companies are spending billions on this, and there has not been a return on it yet because people aren't willing to invest. So long as it's free, I'll play with it. But when it starts to, cost real money, nobody's going, yes, I want all these tools. I want to do all this stuff. So,
all right, last thought. Are you scared? Excited? Cautious?
Don't know yet. I love it for the analytics. Nervous about the creative part of it, the stuff that you can create and how it's not reliable, the trust part of it. So excited on the analytical part, 100%.
I think Damian's nervous about it because he thinks it could be funnier than him. I don't think we're that far away from that happening.
You know what? That's very accurate. That's very accurate. Thank you. Talking about artificial intelligence and what's going to do the future of agriculture. We're doing it with my not artificially intelligent, because they're very intelligent, humans, friends, and that's my friend Kelly Garrett with XtremeAg, Clint Frese here with Calibrated Agronomy, and then our sponsor, Lisa Homer, came here. She is with UPL, delivering solutions that make a difference. We very much appreciate you being at this table. Was it fun for you?
Oh, God, yeah.
If I want to learn anything about your product lineup, where do I go?
They go to uplcorp.com/US.
I like it. So thank you very much for being here. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with somebody who can benefit from it. You know what? We do this often. We've had more than 40 of these episodes go out there, and we want you to enjoy it. Go to extremeag.farm and check out all the cool stuff. Guys like Kelly are shooting videos at their farm to help you farm better. The XtremeAg Cutting the Curve podcast that I produce, been doing that for 4.5 years. It's a library of free information to help you out. And then also the Granary Show. Go to YouTube and check it out and hit subscribe for our XtremeAg channel. We'd love that you're here. And if you have a topic you'd like us to cover at this table, submit it and we'll do so. I promise. I'm Damian Mason with my friends here at the Granary. Till next time.